Our mission is to make lives better for the Filipino. In more than 3 decades, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development has invested in research and innovation, in people, in infrastructure, and in support systems to create an enabling environment for health research in the country, to generate innovations and solutions to our pressing health problems.
Created in 1982 as a sectoral council of the Department of Science and Technology, the PCHRD is mandated to coordinate all health research in the country. The PCHRD has grown and expanded its services in the areas of agenda setting, research management, capacity building, research dissemination, translation and utilization, resource mobilization, and national and international collaborations. The PCHRD promotes health research ethics as the country's commitment to the protection of the rights, welfare, and well-being of human participants in research. Generated from the funded projects of the Council were important healthcare policies, products, and services. Even before the passage of the Technology Transfer Law of 2009, the Council already undertook technology commercialization, which seeded the growth of medicinal plant products in the country. Lagundi for cough and Sambonga's treatment for kidney stones are now household names. With health innovations in the pipeline, the Council is, at the same time, building the capacity of research institutions and researchers to make sure that research projects are technology and industry ready. Research for evidence-informed policy making is an equally important path for our research outputs. Our supported researches contributed to the development of the expanded program on immunization, the Newborn Screening Act, the National Health Insurance Act, the Philippine National Health Research System Act, the National Integrated Cancer Control Act, and the Universal Healthcare Act. To ensure that the country has a cadre of researchers who will undertake needed researches, the PCHRD provides scholarships, research fellowships, and other assistance for capacity building. What sustains a health research system is communication. With this in mind, the Council maximizes the use of traditional and new media. Partnership is employed as a strategic approach. Partnership with media, partnership with the regional consortium's communication teams, and partnership with everyone who shares the Council's vision. Decades may have passed, but the PCHRD's mandate remains the same. PCHRD, making your life better.
Our mission is to make lives better for the Filipino. In more than 3 decades, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development has invested in research and innovation, in people, in infrastructure, and in support systems to create an enabling environment for health research in the country, to generate innovations and solutions to our pressing health problems.
Created in 1982 as a sectoral council of the Department of Science and Technology, the PCHRD is mandated to coordinate all health research in the country. The PCHRD has grown and expanded its services in the areas of agenda setting, research management, capacity building, research dissemination, translation and utilization, resource mobilization, and national and international collaborations. The PCHRD promotes health research ethics as the country's commitment to the protection of the rights, welfare, and well-being of human participants in research. Generated from the funded projects of the Council were important healthcare policies, products, and services. Even before the passage of the Technology Transfer Law of 2009, the Council already undertook technology commercialization, which seeded the growth of medicinal plant products in the country. Lagundi for cough and Sambonga's treatment for kidney stones are now household names. With health innovations in the pipeline, the Council is, at the same time, building the capacity of research institutions and researchers to make sure that research projects are technology and industry ready. Research for evidence-informed policy making is an equally important path for our research outputs. Our supported researches contributed to the development of the expanded program on immunization, the Newborn Screening Act, the National Health Insurance Act, the Philippine National Health Research System Act, the National Integrated Cancer Control Act, and the Universal Healthcare Act. To ensure that the country has a cadre of researchers who will undertake needed researches, the PCHRD provides scholarships, research fellowships, and other assistance for capacity building. What sustains a health research system is communication. With this in mind, the Council maximizes the use of traditional and new media. Partnership is employed as a strategic approach. Partnership with media, partnership with the regional consortium's communication teams, and partnership with everyone who shares the Council's vision. Decades may have passed, but the PCHRD's mandate remains the same. PCHRD, making your life better.
Welcome to our attendees. Please hold on as we will start in a few minutes. A warm welcome to all our participants who are with us in the Zoom room and to those in our Balik Scientist Program Facebook Live. We welcome you to the Balik Scientist Program promotional activity with the theme Bridging Opportunities for Neuroscience Research in the Philippines. Before we begin our program, may I request everyone to kindly turn off their videos, put your microphones on mute, and pay attention to our screen for the Philippine National Anthem and Invocation.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Bayang magiliw, sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyad ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingin, sa dagat at puno, sa simoy, sa langit mo buka, may nilaghang tula at awit sa paglayang pinamahal. Ang kisap ng matawag mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig. Ang bituin at araw niya kanyang pamay magdidinig. Lupa ng araw na luwalhapit pagsinta ay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na pagpay mag-apit ang mga tayo dahil sa'yo.
O Diyos na mapagpala, hiling namin ang pagpapalaganap ng kaalaman sa bawat nilalang.
Panginoon, dinggin mo kami.
O Diyos ng awa, bigyan mo kami ng kakayahan sa pagtataguyod ng pakikipag-ugnayan sa bawat isa.
Panginoon, dinggin mo kami.
O Diyos na mapagkalinga, mangyaring ikawan ang pagpapaunlad ng kalikasan ng tao sa mundo.
Panginoon, dinggin mo kami.
O Diyos na pag-ibig, tulutan mo ang aming bansa ng pagkakaisa at pagkakaunawaan sa gitna ng pagkakaiba-iba.
Panginoon, dinggin mo kami. Panginoon, dinggin mo kami. Panginoon, dinggin mo kami. Sa ngalan pangurungan, pangutuyog, Espiritong kalatamnon, mawaling kami litigin, upang labi-labi. Hayay makiwala-wala, hayay makiwala-wala kami. Hayay makiwala-wala kila kami.
Good morning. We welcome you again to the Balik Scientist Program promotional activity. with the theme Bridging Opportunities for Neuroscience Research in the Philippines. This activity is in collaboration with the Society for Pinoy Neuroscience Enthusiasts, or SPINE, and GradMap. SPINE is a network of experts with special interest in neuroscience whose members are based all over the globe, while GradMap is a mentorship network helping Pinoy scientists get through graduate program application processes. We hope this event would widen your knowledge about the Balik Scientist program and be able to build possible R&D opportunities and collaborations with scientists from SPINE and the Neuroscience Network in the country. I am Idonna from the Department of Science and Technology, Office of the Undersecretary for Research and Development, and I will be your host for today. Before we continue, allow me to acknowledge the presence of our DOST officials, Secretary Fortunato T. de la Peña, Undersecretary for Research and Development, Undersecretary Rowena Cristina L. Guevara, Assistant Secretary for International Cooperation, Assistant Secretary Leah J. Buendia, PCHRD Executive Director, Director Jaime C. Montoya, our Balik scientists, Dr. Janelle P. Saludes and Dr. Romulo J. De Castro Jr. We also have in our midst the SPINE co-founders and founders, Dr. Charles Jordan F. Reyes, Dr. John Noel Viana, and Mr. Jansen Cota, and of course, our partners from the media. To formally start our event, may I call on the SPINE co-founder, Dr. Charles Jordan F. Reyes, to deliver his welcome remarks and give us an introduction about SPINE. Dr. Charles Jordan F. Reyes is a postdoctoral research fellow at the Collaborative Center for X-linked Dystonia Parkinsonism, Department of Neurology, Massachusetts General Hospital, and Harvard Medical School. His main research interest lies in the genetic and molecular causes of neurodegenerative diseases, especially X-linked dystonia Parkinsonism and motor neuron diseases. He recently obtained his PhD in biomedicine, specializing in neurogenetics at the University of Lübeck in northern Germany through a German Catholic academic exchange scholarship. Outside of his research work, Dr. Reyes actively promotes neuroscience awareness in the Philippines through SPINE. He also guides aspiring Filipino scientists to get graduate scholarships abroad through the nonprofit organization GradMap. With us on the virtual floor, Dr. Charles Jordan Reyes. Let us all give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Ms. Idonna, for that very kind introduction. To Secretary Fortunato de la Peña, Undersecretary Rowena Guevara, Dr. Jaime Montoya, Ms. Anisha Catameo, Mr. Paul Ernest De Leon, Professor Janelle Saludes, Dr. John De Castro, and all the viewers in the Philippines this morning, a pleasant good morning to all of you. Neuroscience is one of the most dynamic fields of scientific research. Year after year, dogma-shattering discoveries are being made that change the way we live our lives. Yet, in developing countries like the Philippines, people are still facing a mental health crisis brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Debilitating brain disorders increasingly become more prevalent without us knowing their genetic and molecular causes. And most importantly, more and more young and talented Filipino students aspire to become neuroscientists with very few Filipinos as their role models. As neuroscience researchers, clinicians, students in training, and enthusiasts, what can we do to contribute to make the situation better for our fellow Filipinos? One thing is for certain though, the time to start building neuroscience capacity in the country starts now. And this is why we organized this Balik Scientist Forum to connect the Philippine government with our group of Filipino neuroscientists. And this is to start a dialogue for possible collaborations in the future. I would personally like to express my gratitude to the Department of Science and Technology, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, Professor Saludes and Dr. John De Castro for agreeing to share their Balik scientist journey to everyone here this morning, and the very dedicated Balik Scientist Program Secretariat for their commitment to making this event a success. So for now, allow me to switch gears and introduce to you our initiative, SPINE. SPINE actually stands for the Society for Pinoy Neuroscience Enthusiasts, where we aim to build the backbone of brain research in the Philippines. So this idea to form a Filipino neuroscience community started 3 years ago in Stockholm, Sweden, when I was approached by Jansen Kota in an international conference. So Jansen told me that like we were probably the only Filipinos here in this conference. So we naturally ask ourselves, how many Filipino neuroscientists do you know in your network? And do you think we'll be able to form a community when we add everyone together in a group? So we've been longing for this community because we've always wanted to help each other advance in our careers and to share ideas for possible collaboration. So we did just that. So during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, we gathered as a group of 6 friends. And over time, this group of 6 friends became a community of more than 100 Filipino neuroscientists. We come from different backgrounds, countries, and research interests. So as of the moment, most of us are graduate students, but there are also postdocs, clinicians, research interests, and even undergraduates who are interested in neuroscience. For this rapid growth over the past few months, I would like to thank the dedication and hard work of Jansen Kota and Noel Viana, who have been running this neuroscience community with me for the past 1.5 years. And I would also like to thank Dr. Jong De Castro, who has been mentoring us over the past few months and has been giving us a lot of opportunities for growth. So as I mentioned earlier, SPINE stands for the Society for Pinoy Neuroscience Enthusiasts. And our objectives at SPINE are twofold. The first is to promote a neuroscience awareness in the Philippines. And we do this through monthly webinars, career talks, and research idea collaborations. And the second is to forge a culture of collaboration between Filipino neuroscientists by organizing networking sessions and open scientific discussions. So since April 2020, we've been organizing monthly webinars, and these cover a diverse set of topics ranging from early life stress, neurotoxicology, neuroethics and philosophy, genetics, natural products, cognitive neuroscience, neuroengineering, proteomics, glycobiology, and oncology. And this features the works done by Filipinos around the world so that we can give young Filipinos role models on how to do research at the highest level. Last month, we also organized a graduate school forum featuring 5 graduate students in international institutions. And this was attended by more than 120 students all over the Philippines wanting to become neuroscience graduate students themselves. So if you're interested in our neuroscience community, you can follow us through our various social media platforms. You can follow us on Facebook through this link, Instagram at SpinePH, and in Twitter at PH_Spine. Then I would also like to commend our colleagues and friends at GradMap. GradMap is a nonprofit organization aiming to positively impact the careers of aspiring STEM students in the Philippines by connecting them with a network of mentors. And they also aim to increase the pipeline of Filipino students pursuing graduate school in STEM. Their unique strategy involves building a network of mentors who can provide personalized assistance to mentees, developing and disseminating free materials about STEM careers, and sharing stories of STEM students and professionals and their journeys to graduate school. So you can check out their resources and reach out to them through the following social media pages. And with that, I would like to thank everyone in attendance. I hope you find some value in what we're going to show you today, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Charles, for the delightful words of welcome and the enlightening information about spine and GradMap. Now let me introduce the head of the DOST system. To give us his message, it is my honor to bring to the virtual stage the Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, Secretary Fortunato T. de la Peña. Magandang umaga po, Sec Boy.
Magandang umaga sa ating lahat at ako'y nagagalak at nagkaroon tayo ng pagkakataon kahit na araw ng Sabado para maidaos itong ating Balik Scientist Spine webinar. To my colleagues at the DOST headed by Dr. Rowena Cristina Guevara and of course our co-workers at the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, led by Dr. Jaime Montoya. That includes Paul Ernest De Leon and Anicia Catameo at the Institution Development Division of the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. And of course, to our Society for Pinoy Neuroscience Enthusiast or SPINE, co-founder Dr. Charles Jordan Reyes. So all our Balik scientists who are present here to share their experiences, notably Dr. Jonel Saludes and Dr. Romulo De Castro, and of course to our moderator, Idona. To our participants from SPINE, our neuroscientists, members of academe, and those who have heard of this event through friends and our social media outlets, good morning and welcome to our webinar, Balik Scientist Program, Bridging Opportunities for Neuroscience Research in the Philippines. It is very heartwarming to see many young faces in this online gathering, and all of you are eager and willing to share with our fellow Filipinos your time and your talent. Thank you, Dr. Reyes, and to the rest of the SPINE group for reaching out to our agency so that we can learn more about what we could do to help you achieve your goal of developing neuroscience in our country, and also helping us connect with more Filipinos in the neuroscience community abroad to further our cause. 3 years ago, Republic Act 11035 or the Balik Scientist Act was institutionalized to help the country bounce back from the effects of the migration of many of our country's talents to other places, which, as you know, has been ongoing for many, many years already. I am sure that some of us here have indeed traveled to other countries to seek opportunities that may not have been available here or for personal betterment, which is why I cannot say enough how truly delighted we are that there is still among the youth, okay, that desire to give back to the country and that you have shown interest in our program. Actually, the health and medical science Balik scientists are pleasantly surprising, fast-growing in numbers from those who are working in our Tuklas Lunas program to those who have volunteered to help us in the virology and vaccine development program, to those involved in ICT for health, and also to those involved in rare diseases and other specialized areas, and of course those that are helping in COVID-19. So now we are very happy to welcome another community, the Balik scientists in the field of neurosciences. Neurosciences is relatively a new field in our country, but our concern lies not so much in training promising scientists, doctors, and educators, but the stigma that revolves around the ills, okay, that the field addresses and the general mindset of our population. Resilience and adaptability are two of the Filipinos' most admirable traits, but at times we fail to acknowledge that despite the ability to weather tough storms and learn to survive and thrive in cultures far different from ours, we Filipinos are humans, that our bodies, even our minds, are naturally subject to their inherent vices. Oftentimes, because of our lack of knowledge and our seemingly extroverted nature, we Filipinos dismiss the signs that slowly and eventually take our loved ones away from us, be it from slow degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or ones that are less obvious like depression. It is only recently, 2019 to be exact, when the country passed Republic Act 11036 or the Mental Health Act, which among other things aims to protect the rights and freedoms of persons affected by mental illness. Let us be reminded that the problems of mental health actually can affect all ages. By strengthening our partnership and collaborations between the healthcare sector, the government, the academe, the NGOs, and the citizenry, we are hoping to uphold this aim. With your help, our dear neuroscientists, educating the populace, as well as boosting our capabilities to aid our country's mental health, our countrymen's mental health, is not anymore wishful thinking. I think even our general practitioners and those involved in different specialties would need some updating, training, or education in the field of neurosciences, whether they are dealing with whether they are in the field of pediatrics or geriatrics or family medicine. I think this is very important. So Dr. Montoya, Dr. Saludes, Dr. De Castro, Paul De Leon, and Ms. Catameo are here with us to enlighten us about the DOST's Balik Scientist program. So please do not hesitate to ask them questions. I am sure they will be willing to assist you with any concern that you have regarding the program and are open to discussing and exploring opportunities for research collaboration. Again, everyone, thank you for joining us, and I am looking forward to seeing many of the young faces today in our laboratories and our partner institutions to help our country become better, healthier, so that we Filipinos could genuinely be more resilient, more adaptable, and more productive. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you for your encouraging words, Sekboy. The Balik Scientist program has really a lot to offer for returning scientists. At this point, we encourage all scientists with us today to reach out to your friends abroad and introduce to them this wonderful program for the country's achievement of greater levels of competitiveness and prosperity. We are strong 310 in this Zoom room. I know some of you may be asking already, what is this Balik Scientist program? Wait no more, as the next video will give you a glimpse of what the program is all about.
Recognizing the critical role of science and technology in economic development and progress, the Balik Scientist Act, or Republic Act 11035, was signed into law last June 2018 by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. The law comes at a crucial time as the country embarks on the vision of a prosperous and poverty-free society.
This is actually putting into law a program that has been started by the Department of Science and Technology almost 40 years ago. But we need some legal support so that we can implement it in a better way, so that the Balik scientists will have an easier time in terms of coming here to the Philippines and rendering services.
Who is the Balik scientist?
The experience and the expertise of Filipinos who have made their good practice of being scientists abroad, and so that they can share whatever they have in terms of knowledge and wisdom to our own institutions, our own researchers.
My role and responsibility of a Balik scientist is to be not just a teacher or facilitator, but also a pusher of innovations within the program.
Balik scientists are given support by the government for their stay in the country and are likewise provided with a wide array of benefits to ensure their maximum output.
The best incentives or privileges or benefits are having to be exposed with our farmers.
My greatest privilege would be doing collaborative work with fellow Filipinos.
The DOST, as the leading agency in charge of the Balik Scientist Program, is tasked to facilitate the placement of the Balik Scientist among its priority areas from its sub-agencies. P-Card, PCHRD, P-Shared, partnering with the DOST are the host institutions, private or public entities, providing the appropriate resources to the Balik scientist in the completion of their research activities and other tasks, as well as counterpart incentives to further entice them.
I think the role of the institution is to give the space or the laboratory needed for the program or the project needed.
Working together, the DOST, the Balik scientists, and the host institutions have proven the importance of collaboration and cooperation, critical of any nation's vision for success.
I am an advocate of Balik Scientist Program. Okay, being one, I really truly felt that Balik scientists would be able to help in uplifting the economic growth of the country.
My hopes is to really contribute to the space agency. It's very, very pragmatic, and we will need everybody's help, and also help promulgate the STEM program here in the Philippines.
We really need to encourage other Balik scientists or other scientists abroad to give their time. They need to give back and help the country.
With the enactment of the Balik Scientist Act, the country is looking towards a stronger and more solid science and technology foundation, propelling the nation to further heights. Change has come indeed for science and technology. Science for change. Science for the people.
And now, to show us how we can become a Balik scientist, let us hear from Ms. Anisha P. Catameo, the officer in charge of the PCHRD Institution Development Division, as she discusses the Balik Scientist Program application and process.
To our esteemed officials, the OST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña, Undersecretary Rowena Guevara, Dr. Jaime Montoya, our Balik scientists, Dr. Jonel Saludes and Dr. Romulo de Castro, our collaborators from Spain, Dr. Charles Reyes, Dr. Noel Viaña, and Dr. Jansen Cota, our friends from the media, and everyone from the science community, a pleasant day to all of us. On behalf of DOST and PCHRD, I will be introducing to you the Balik Scientist Program. Today, we will be delving into the details of the Balik Scientist program by talking about what the heart of the program is, that is our Balik Scientists and host institutions, our research priorities, the types of engagements, the requirements and steps in the application process, and a glimpse of the Balik Scientist experience, which will also be presented further in the later parts of our program. To start off, let me discuss with you who are eligible to be Balik Scientists. A science, technology, or innovation expert or professional as certified by the department who is a Filipino citizen or of Filipino descent can apply to be a Balik Scientist. Applicants can be a resident of another country at the time of application or a Philippine resident for not more than 3 years at the time of application, beginning from the most recent date of arrival from overseas education or employment along his or her field of expertise. She must be a holder of a graduate degree and working with the private sector, a recognized and reputable research and development institution, and or academe abroad. She must have an outstanding contribution in her field of specialization. She must also be in good health, physically and mentally. Undoubtedly, our experts cannot stand alone in reaching the goals and objectives of the program. Hand in hand with the Balik Scientists are the host institutions where the Balik Scientists will be home. The Balik Scientists' engagement and activities will primarily be done together with the host institution. What are host institutions, or who can be host to a Balik Scientist? Host institutions may be a government agency, public or private academic institution, or locally registered enterprise. They must be undertaking science, technology, and innovation activities and research and development initiatives. To ensure that our Balik Scientists could accomplish their research activities and other tasks, host institutions should also work to provide appropriate resources or counterpart incentives to our Balik Scientists. How do we start the application process? Before sending in an application, it is very crucial that the applicant to the Balik Scientist program should first identify their prospective host institution. The Sectoral Council may also assist to identify prospective host institutions based on the expertise of the applicant. In some cases, a host institution may also identify or tap a prospective Balik Scientist based on their needs. In starting the application process, communication between the Balik Scientist and host institution should be established to ensure that the expertise and goals of the Balik Scientist are matched with the need and capacity of the host institution. Upon matching of the Balik Scientist and the host institution, both shall determine if the target activities that they have in mind or are planning to venture into are aligned with DOST S&T priorities. In planning for the application, our Balik Scientists with their host institutions may consider to address needs or fill in R&D gaps in the health sector by doing collaborative work in the following areas: Tuklas Lunas or drug discovery and development, diagnostics, omics technologies for health and wellness, biomedical engineering products, information and communication technology for health, dengue and other arboviruses, functional foods, nutrition and food safety, mental health, disaster risk reduction, and climate change adaptation. The specific list of entry points where the Balik Scientists and host institution could collaborate in may be found particularly in the Harmonized National Health R&D Agenda and the National Unified Health Research Agenda, which also provides a list of specializations such as artificial intelligence, big data analytics, medicinal chemistry, and nuclear medicine, among others. Later in the program, you will also see how neuroscience interconnects with our research priority areas. Once the target activities have been identified and aligned with the specific research priority areas, the Balik scientist and host institution can then strategize and agree upon the best type of engagement to avail. The duration of the engagement will depend on the envisioned activities of both parties. Under the Balik Scientists Act, there are three types of engagements, namely short-term engagement, which can be availed for a minimum of 15 days to 6 months, medium-term engagement, which lasts for more than 6 months to less than a year, which is to be completed within 2 to 3 years from the date of the award, and the long-term engagement, which lasts from 1 to 3 years and can also be rendered either continuous or non-continuous, but needs to be completed within 5 years from the date of the award. Activities that may be considered for the different types of engagements may include capacity building activities, collaborative R&D activities, and establishing networks and linkages. These engagements are usually started upon the Balik scientists' return to the country. Due to the global health crisis that hit us brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, the DOST has tried to cope with the hopes of fostering continued creation of opportunities and exchange of expertise without compromising the health and safety of the Balik scientists. In 2020, the DOST released Special Order Number 0415, known as the Supplemental Guideline and Risk Management Plan of the Balik Scientist Program, to provide an alternative mode of engagement for Balik scientists. With this, provision of incentives and privileges will also depend on the work arrangement. For short-term and medium-term on-site engagements, term-specific benefits, incentives, and privileges will be given as follows. 1 round-trip airfare from country of origin to the Philippines, plus exemption from payment of travel tax. Reimbursement of excess baggage expenses. Tax-exempt daily subsistence allowance of USD 200 or prevailing UNDP rate, whichever is higher. Accident, travel, and health medical insurance for the duration of the on-site engagement, and COVID-19 testing as necessary if not included in the health medical insurances. For remote engagements, a monthly incentive equivalent to at least salary grades 27, step 8 shall be provided for the number of days rendered remotely. These guidelines shall cover engagements and remain in force until global and national travel restrictions and implementations of quarantines are lifted. Having the guidelines in place, we hope that this will encourage more Filipino scientists and experts abroad to share their talents even through online platforms. Qualified applicants, together with the host institution, may submit their application after identifying the activities to be conducted as aligned with research priority areas and determining the type of engagement that best suits the collaboration. Required documents for the application include the following: Accomplished Application Form or BSP Form 1, Accomplished Terms of Reference or BSP Form 2, Details of R&D Program or Project Involvement or BSP Form 3, Endorsement Letter from Host Institution addressed to Sectoral Council Director, Detailed Updated Curriculum Vitae, Copy of credentials such as diploma or certificate of academic achievements from a credible local or international public, private institution, association, copy of passport and page with stamp of the most recent date of arrival, and medical certificate. Submission of complete application documents by the Balik scientist applicant and the host institution can be done online through the website or via email. Upon receipt of the application, the Secretariat shall review completeness of documents and qualifications of the potential Balik scientist, host institution, and will facilitate in-house evaluation. In the next step, the Secretariat will then forward the application to the BSP Technical Evaluation Committee for further evaluation, at which point there may be proposed recommendations to maximize the engagement. Finally, with the recommendation of the Evaluation Committee, the applicant may be approved and officially awarded to be a Balik scientist by the DOST and PCHRD. As an awardee, the Balik scientists shall carry out the S&T activities together with the host institution. As a glimpse, here are some innovative S&T activities the Balik scientists may be involved in. They may be involved in introduction of new technologies or techniques, development and implementation of R&D activities, conduct of knowledge sharing activities through technical lectures and seminars, as well as workshops and hands-on training essential to science and technology capacity development. Balik scientists will also be enjoined to participate in various fora and conferences and will be invited to be part of conventions. Being a Balik scientist has its own glory, but apart from that, it is a call to patriotism and service in love of country. Especially now in these trying times, we are more in need of high-caliber experts to share their knowledge and reinforce our current progress in S&T. Our fellow neuroscience experts, or even those from other disciplines here with us today, are you looking forward to helping the local science community? How about the institutions also participating here today? Have you identified the need for your neuroscience research advancements? Later, another colleague will discuss more about the neuroscience R&D landscape in the country. Will you be willing to share your strengths, talents, and passion to serve the people through science? Let the Balik Scientists program become the bridge for neuroscience research to flourish and advance. We hope you will join hands with us, Balik Puso, Balik Pilipinas, Balik Scientists. For those who have taken an interest or know someone who may be interested in joining us in our program, we encourage you to visit our website, follow us on Facebook, or send us an email. Magandang agham at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, Ms. Catameo. Looking at the enthusiasm of our participants, I see that we would be receiving quite a number of inquiries this coming days. Now, if you plan to be a Balik scientist, you might want to be informed of where we are now in terms of neuroscience research and where can you contribute. To share with us all the background and updates regarding neuroscience research and development landscape in the Philippines, let us hear from Mr. Paul Ernest De Leon, Chief of the PCHRD Research and Development Management Division. Let us all give him a big hand.
Good morning, everyone. To our DOST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña, Undersecretary Rowena Guevara, our Executive Director, Dr. Jaime Montoya, our Balik scientist, Dr. Jonel Saludes and Dr. Romulo de Castro, our partners from Spine, Dr. Charles Reyes, Dr. Noel Villaña, and Mr. Jansen Cota, colleagues and friends, thank you for the opportunity to present the neuroscience research and development landscape in the Philippines based on the R&D programs and projects supported and managed by DOST and PCHRD. The PCHRD provides grants for research studies aligned with the National Unified Health Research Agenda, or NURA, and the DOST Harmonized National R&D Agenda. These articulate the national science and technology priorities and serve as a guide for public investment in R&D. The PCHRD has 9 priority areas that are integrated in the NURA, namely drug discovery and development for our Tuklas Lunas program, functional foods, nutrition and food safety, omic technologies for health, re-emerging and emerging diseases, diagnostics, mental health, biomedical devices engineering for health, ICT for health, and disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. Health research on neuroscience may be categorized or aligned under a number of our identified priority areas. These include the following priority areas. Omic Technologies for Health, or omics, looks into utilizing omic technology platforms and information such as genomics and bioinformatics in developing local technologies which can lead to the development of personalized medicine, diagnostics, and therapeutics. Omics is seen as a support to health and clinical practice guidelines and policies of the Philippines, especially focusing on diseases and conditions of relevance in the country. Omics for health research in the country includes studies on non-communicable, neurological, neurodegenerative, and psychiatric diseases. The Biomedical Devices Engineering for Health program specifically addresses the need for research and improvisation and local development of reliable, safe, and affordable biomedical devices for supportive and therapeutic care for local and international markets. The program's health research in the country includes studies on minimally invasive surgical devices, devices for post-operative rehabilitative care, devices for health emergency response, distributed healthcare and devices, and simulation platforms for health and disease studies. The diagnostics program explores the use of artificial intelligence for more accurate and point-of-care detection of diseases and disease outcomes. This program includes researches on diagnostics for non-communicable neurological diseases. The ICT for Health program, on the other hand, covers research on data science and e-health solutions for recording and utilizing patients' information, mapping of health risk and health resources, telemedicine, and health promotion. ICT for Health, or e-health, is an important tool to achieve universal health care as it enables access to and delivery of cost-efficient healthcare services. The ICT for Health research in the country includes studies on artificial intelligence in healthcare, cybersecurity and protection for HIS system, artificial intelligence in healthcare applications, and assessment and development of ICT-enabled health delivery services. In 2018, the Philippine Mental Health Act, or RA 11036, was enacted after 15 years of lobbying and advocacy. Based on the law, research and development shall be conducted in collaboration with academic institutions, NGOs, and psychiatric, neurologic, and related associations to gather needed data for the development of culturally relevant national mental health program. The mental health research in the country includes studies on social determinants for mental health, diagnostics and omics technologies for mental health, standardization of mental health services, ICT for mental health, and inventory and evaluation of mental health interventions. The Functional Foods program covers research on crops and food products that have possible health advantages beyond their distinctive nutritional benefits for the prevention of non-communicable diseases. Currently, the Functional Foods for Health research in the country includes studies on unpolished and pigmented rice and edible mushrooms, pili, seaweeds, turmeric, root crops, local berries, VCO, and other coconut products. The PCHRD, together with the DOST, also supported notable centers and facilities, such as the Philippine Genome Center of the University of the Philippines. The PGC is providing services for omics research, as well as promoting genomics appreciation. The main headquarters of PGC is located within the campus of UP Diliman, which also houses several core facilities for DNA sequencing, bioinformatics, biobanking, and the protein, proteomics, and metabolomics core facility. There are also satellite facilities located in Visayas and Mindanao. PCHRD and other DOST-supported projects and programs are highly encouraged to utilize the services and facilities of PGC, as this will promote advancement of genomics research and applications in the country through collaborative initiatives and multi-sectoral partnerships. In the succeeding slides, some example of technologies that have been developed will be cited, as well as initiatives that are actively being pursued by the Council with the Department of Science and Technology. The PCHRD supports studies on neuroscience looking at HIV-related complications. Through collaborations with international and local institutions, this multidisciplinary program will identify diagnostic biomarkers related to HIV-related complications, such as neurocognitive deficits and metabolic disorder among Filipino patients. The program is currently being led by Dr. Marisa Alejandria under the College of Medicine of the University of the Philippines, Manila. The PCHRD also supports research on Alzheimer's disease. In this study, the drug response of Filipino patients newly diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease will be investigated. Multi-omics technology will be utilized to characterize genetic variations. Findings from this study will provide evidence for the consideration of local medical societies managing patients with Alzheimer's disease. The project is currently being led by Dr. Fretzel Monica Climacosa under the College of Medicine of the University of the Philippines, Manila. There are also PCHRD-supported studies on food fortification. This study, led by Dr. Maria Esterlita Uy under the National Institutes of Health of UP Manila, look into the effects of food snacks fortified with protein and iron from Moringa oleifera or malunggay to the nutritional status of children in daycare centers and for the improvement of their IQ, cognition, and neurobehavioral development. The PCHRD also recognizes the importance of neuroscientific studies on COVID-19 consequences. This multinational research project under the eAsia Joint Research Program collaborates with groups of experts in the field of immunology, immunogenetics, and neurology from Southeast, East Asia, and the US to investigate the immunological and neurological long-term consequences of COVID-19 infection. The project is currently being led by Dr. Fretzel Monica Climacosa under the College of Medicine of UP Manila. The PCHRD also supports projects on neurodegenerative diseases and complications, such as this project by Dr. Jacqueline Dominguez under the Institute of Neurosciences, St. Luke's Medical Center. The project determined the effects of prolonged sleep deprivation in mice using markers for neurodegeneration and histopathology. Another project on neurodegenerative diseases was led by Dr. Reynaldo Garcia under the National Institute for Molecular Biology and Biotechnology of UP Diliman, which provided valuable information that addresses the knowledge gap in understanding the molecular mechanisms leading to XDP. In response to the needed research and innovation for mental health, the Philippines Mental Health Research Agenda was launched on October 11, 2019. The following are the mental health projects and initiatives that PCHRD is currently pursuing with the Department of Science and Technology and various partners and institutions, such as the University of Asia and the Pacific, University of Santo Tomas, Southern Philippine Medical Center, and others. We also have upcoming studies on neurosciences entitled Investigating the Epidemiology of X-linked Dystonia Parkinsonism that will be implemented in 2022 through our collaborations with Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, and the Philippine Genome Center. This study will look into genetic prevalence of XDP in the Philippines and will validate the use of high-throughput automated process in screening for genetic variants. This project will be led by Dr. Eva Maria Cutionca de la Paz under the National Institutes of Health of UP Manila. We hope that more researchers and healthcare experts will join us in our mission to make lives better for the Filipino through health research and development. Again, if you are interested in working with us, you may reach us through the following links flashed on your screen. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity for sharing to you this valuable information. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. De Leon. We now have knowledge on the opportunities for our scientists to be able to extend their expertise in the field of neuroscience and health research. Moving right along, if you have questions like, what is it like to be a Balik scientist? I'm sure this next portion and our speakers will spark your interest. We will be hearing two of the phenomenally successful and well-respected Balik scientists who heard the battle cry of love for our country and accepted the challenge to return and advance science for the people. Here to share their Balik scientist experiences are Dr. Jonel P. Saludes and Dr. Romulo J. De Castro Jr. Dr. Saludes returned to the Philippines as a long-term DOST Balik Scientist Awardee in 2015 and is currently a professor of chemistry and the Associate VP for Research and Global Relations at the University of San Agustin. He is also the director of the Center for Natural Drug Discovery and Development. He pursues research programs in drug delivery, cell signaling, antibiotic and anti-cancer drug discovery, cholesterol-lowering property of pineapples, and development of agricultural commodities like turmeric into standardized commercial products. In April 2021, Dr. Saludes was recognized as one of the top 100 Asian scientists. Without much ado, let us welcome our first Balik scientist, Dr. Jonel P. Saludes.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Ms. Idona. Thank you, Dr. Charles, and the officers of SPINE for inviting me to share my story as a Balik scientist. Secretary Fortunato de la Peña, Yusek Guevara, Dr. Montoya, Sir Paul, Ma'am Annie, and my fellow Balik scientist, Dr. John De Castro, Ms. Laila Labunete. Thank you for coordinating. And the participants to this morning's event, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. It is an honor to speak in front of expert neuroscientists in this gathering. As the closest thing to biology that I did as a graduate student was to prepare a PBS buffer solution from a pre-packed powder that I got from Sigma Aldrich. Later on, when I pursued my independent career, my first foray in neuroscience was for my lab to chemically synthesize, using microwave technology, the amyloid beta protein that has 40 amino acid residues. Later on, let me proceed with this slide. At the end of the year 2020, my lab published a new family of peptides called sialopen. This is in collaboration with a neuroscientist from Washington State University, Dr. Gary Wayman. And we demonstrated that sialopen, this new family of peptides, are efficient potential drug carrier to efficiently deliver cargo in primary neurons that were taken from a rat model, which possessed better properties than the traditional cell-penetrating peptide called TAP-P. At this point, please allow me to briefly share my background. I went to UC Davis for my PhD in organic chemistry and took my postdoctoral fellowship in chemical biology from CU Boulder and pursued my independent career at Washington State University, all in USA. In 2015, I returned to the Philippines as a long-term Balik scientist at USA Iloilo City. Dr. Doraline Dalisay were the first Balik scientists, and I were the first Balik scientists at San Agustin. Briefly, University of San Agustin is known for its flagship degree programs in health, such as pharmacy and medical technology. because of its high board exam performance for the graduates of these programs. And therefore, it has been showing an excellent track record primarily as a teaching university. USA, however, was not the go-to university by health researchers for expert consultation and collaboration. Even in the local community in Western Visayas, it was not identified as a research active institution in health. And this was how the research lab that was assigned to us looked like upon our arrival. So you may feel like packing your bags and perhaps check the sanity of your decision of coming back to serve. Having said the above, this is my take-home message. A Balik scientist must arrive with a perspective of service, as this engagement is not always a walk in the park. The OST also provides the best that it can within its level of authority, and the benefit provided through RA 11035 is actually very generous. But it may not cover everything that you and your family have become accustomed to in your country of origin. Therefore, please keep an open mind and a heart for service and nation building. Balik scientists, some of us may arrive empty-handed. No infrastructure that's comparable to where we came from, as I have shown in the previous slides. And human resources that are ready to work on day one may be scarce. But please come home and bring with you that globally competitive training and the commitment to make a difference locally in your host institution, in the region where that host institution is located at, or the entire country as well. And the host institution may not be able to provide all the conveniences that we were used to, both technically, in technical support, and the process. If we're used to calling Sigma Aldrich in the morning and get our reagents delivered the following day, that remains a dream here in the country. So be vigilant and be proactive in how you do things to ensure that you still get your science done. And this is a big opportunity for you to give back. Therefore, use that competency that we gain abroad to build a technical playground. Work closely with the person that's hosting you, whoever is that direct contact that will serve as your host in your BSP stint. And then lead the institution building and the transformation of that institution. And I assure you, that DOST is there to offer the best support that it can give. And through this, during my BSP engagement in partnership with the administration, you have seen the photo of the President, Cadre Comendador, we built what we call as the Global Initiatives 2020 or the GI 2020 program, which served as the R&D roadmap of the university to identify the gaps and fill them. And we were talking about this mantra: if we want the airplanes to land, we must build an airport. However, despite of what appeared to be a bleak start in 2015, 4 more Balik scientists joined USA as with full-time engagements. With 2 full-time engagements and 2 short-term engagements. Dr. De Castro joined in 2019. Dr. Chris Kaipang joined in 2019 as well, and are now full-time faculty members of the Department of Biology. Dr. Gerard Dumangkas served as short-term Balik scientist for, I think, 2 or 3 engagements. And recently, Dr. Enzo de los Santos from Imperial College London joined as the Balik scientist, with a short-term engagement Balik scientist. And yesterday, he actually gave a webinar for a 4-series webinar. There were about 350 attendees, and details about his lecture are found in the Facebook website that you can see on the screen, which is a new mechanism that the BSP has adopted for this virtual remote engagements, as was mentioned by Ma'am Annie Katamea earlier on. Going back to my story for the BSP engagement, through a hand-in-hand partnership with the leadership of University of San Agustin, we established 4 research centers because there was none when we arrived in 2015. These research centers are named as C2B2, or the Center for Chemical Biology and Biotechnology, CND3, or the Center for Natural Drug Discovery and Development, which is also the home of the Tuklas Lunas Development Center in Western Visayas, and the Center for Informatics that's now led by Dr. De Castro in his most recent BSP engagement after his prior engagements with UP Manila and UP Los Baños. And we also opened the 4th research center, not a science research center, but it's a social science research center called Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures, which pursues studies involving our indigenous peoples in the island of Panay, led by Dr. Clement Acevedo from Virginia. With this, USA has productive health research that's ongoing, and the 4 key health research programs that USA is pursuing include informatics for health, functional foods and plants, peptides for diagnostics and drug delivery, and marine microbial biotechnology and drug discovery, which I will give more details in just a little while. And this research program began with a vision by Father Comendador to transform USA into a research-intensive institution as a realization of its mission of Caritas for the common good, building on goodwill to reach out across the globe. And we built the airport for the airplanes to land. We have also established a cell culture lab for cancer and normal cells, and hopefully one of our neuroscientists in the audience will teach us how to grow neurons in the near future. Last month, some of our findings were published in the journal Scientific Reports. Thanks to our all local and dedicated young team members as shown in the screen. Further, BSP engagements must be viewed as a science for the people program. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world and the Philippines was put into lockdown in March 2020, that's last year, there was no COVID testing center in Western Visayas, and all samples had to be sent to RITM in Manila. the local scientists here in Iloilo, and with the C2B2 and CND3, we built a team, and the C2B2 and CND3 lab became the molecular biology training ground for medtech and pathologists, which enabled 6 testing labs in Iloilo and Negros to serve the people. Further, CFI launched its COVID-19 toolkit for real-time monitoring of cases, as well as the modeling of hospital sufficiency in Region 6. But I will leave the details for Dr. De Castro to articulate in his presentation later. Through the generosity of PCHRD, a triple quad LCMS, and the first and only MALDI-TOF imaging mass spectrometry in the country was put in place in University of San Agustin. MALDI-TOF allows for in situ analysis of plant and animal tissues without the need for extraction. For example, if you are interested in looking into the brain of an animal model, look at the profile and characterize it, just collect the sample of interest, create thin slices of these tissues using a cryotome, spray it with matrix, and then shoot a thin laser to analyze the compounds or the biomolecules, proteins, or oligonucleotides of interest. On another note, a private corporate partner sponsored the acquisition of that gas chromatograph mass spectrometer as shown in this slide. Very recently, just a few months ago, DOST and PCHRD enabled the establishment of the Visayas NMR laboratory and the acquisition of the country's first cryoprobe NMR spectrometer, enabling the country to determine the structure of natural products that only found in nanomole amounts. We're talking about microgram amounts of natural products. It will also enable the determination of solution phase structure of proteins, as well as characterizing and determining how a drug binds on a target protein or DNA. If his engagement is approved, Dr. Julius Lopez from Hokkaido University will serve as the inaugural Balik scientist for the Visayas NMR lab to set up the laboratory protocols and train the 2+ Lunas researchers in Visayas in Mindanao, including from Central Mindanao University, MSU IIT, University of Southern Mindanao, University of San Carlos, and Visayas State University. I will now shift gears and allow this video to speak for itself on institution building in the countryside through DOST's unwavering support for Balik scientists. This video describes the workflow of our marine drug discovery platform, from field sampling via scuba, culturing of actinomycetes, bioassays, to compound purification and characterization. Our biobank of marine extracts may find value in your search for neuroactive agents. Maraming salamat po. Thank you po.
Thank you for sharing with us your inspiring story, Dr. Saludes. If you have the chance to visit the University of San Agustin, it has improved so much in the last few years. Thank you for all your efforts for the country, Dr. Saludes. For that, we salute you. Before we continue with our next Balik scientist, allow me to acknowledge other Balik scientists who are with us today. We have Dr. Annabel Villalobos, Dr. Thomas Neil Pascual, Dr. Albert Flavier, Dr. Andrea Roxanne Anas, Dr. Angelo Lubag, Dr. Christina Leison, Dr. Rose Constantino, and Dr. Anna Karen Lacerna. Joining us also is a representative from GradMap, Mr. Anthony Andrew Mortija from the German Cancer Research Center. And we also have Dr. Annabel Briones, Director of the DOST-ITDI. Good morning and welcome. Moving on with our next Balik scientist. With us is Dr. Romulo J. De Castro, Jr. He was a short-term Balik scientist in 2009, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. His areas of expertise are bioinformatics, neuroscience, and immunology. He was a scientific curator of the Immune Epitome Database at the La Jolla Institute for Allergy and Immunology, assistant director for research with Autism Speaks, and the director of translational research navigation at Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science in Los Angeles, California. He co-founded 3R Biosystems, a biotech startup focused on cancer biomarker discovery, and he currently works as a consultant of the International Atomic Energy Agency. He is now the director of the Center for Informatics, University of San Agustin. Without much ado, and to give us his presentation, let us all welcome Dr. Romulo J. De Castro, Jr. Good morning, sir.
Let's see. Unmute myself. All right. Can you hear me? Thank you.
Loud and clear, sir.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Balik Scientist Program for inviting me here. Let me extend my greetings to the Secretary, if he's still around, Secretary Boy de la Peña, Dr. Montoya, Dr. Guevara, Dr. Buendia, and my fellow Balik scientist at San Agustin, Dr. Jonel Saludes, who just gave a brilliant presentation. Other Balik scientists who are here, whom I know, such as Anne Villalobos and Angelo Lubag. Hello from, I guess, hello to Texas, to you in Texas now. And of course, I'd like to, let me thank Spine Ahead. I was so happy that their members, Charles, Noel and Jansen gave presentations when I invited them, to a symposium at the National Center for Mental Health, who we collaborate with. So when they invited me to present my experiences in the Balik Scientist Program, I was just so happy to return the favor. So, I like that, our Filipino scientists abroad are initiating programs such as this, and including their colleagues who are, I guess, all over the world. So it's really good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who's here. Truly an international, situation. Thanks to the organizers, our BSP program officers who did a great job. So anyway, let me go ahead and start my presentation then. So I guess I will share my screen. Here you go. All right, here it is. And then I wonder if you can see my presentation. Can you see it?
We can see it, sir.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. So again, I'm Romulo De Castro. I guess I'm the director of the Center for Informatics at the University of San Agustin in Iloilo with Dr. Jonel. This was the brainchild of Jonel and Doralyn Dalisay. Doralyn, I was loaned from my Balik Scientist work from UP Manila. They loaned me to San Agustin for 1 week back in, I think, 2018 or maybe even 2017. Doralyn took me to Bataha on one of her excursions and asked me if I would become a Balik scientist over in San Agustin. And that was a great setup. How could I say no? We were in the middle of the beautiful marine park collecting samples for her research. So that was a great setup. So to this day, that's a beautiful story, actually. So maybe one of these days when I bring some Balik scientists to San Agustin, maybe a good setup will be done for you as well. All right. Let's see. So I'm talking about research opportunities in the Philippines, particularly for the neuroscientists, Filipino neuroscientists abroad who are doing their graduate school work as well as their postdocs. So what can you do beyond grad school and your postdocs? Can you come back to the Philippines? Yes, because as I believe was highlighted earlier, there's a lot of neuroscience research going on, and we're preparing for more of that, with the National Center for Mental Health and some of our own projects at the Center for Informatics in San Agustin. So, we will be able to host you if you want to come back to the Philippines through the Balik Scientist program. So let me tell you a little bit about, maybe a little bit about me. I still have my startup company, 3R Biosystems, focused on cancer biomarker discovery. And I'm still, I'm sort of a consultant with IAEA. We developed a tool for them. Basically everything shut down during the pandemic. So we still need to do field work on our tool. And I suspect that, maybe the go signal will come anytime, to begin our work again, for the IAEA. So for Balik Scientist, I was a Balik Scientist in 2009 with Mapua, hosted by Mapua and UP Manila. My hosts were Lemuel Tayo and Badong Kawili. Then I came back in 2015 for another short-term program. Again, Badong was my host. In 2016, Frank Heralde was my host. In 2017, Dr. Amy Estacio at the College of Vet Med in UPLB was my host. And in 2018, I was hosted by both UPLB and UP Manila. And this is when we initiated our REDCap Users Consortium collaboration, which I will talk about in a bit. After that, I was asked to do a medium term in San Agustin. That's for a year. And the project was the development of the Center for Informatics. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. All right. So this is an example of my work at 3R Biosystems. This is a biomarker discovery work that we did using bioinformatics tools. My collaborators here are Manny Bacolod and Carsten Pilones, both Filipinos at Weill Cornell. And I'm also asking them to come back as a Balik scientist. I think Manny might be able to do that this year. But Carsten is a little bit too busy with his work, but maybe we'll bring him in also as much as we can, whenever we can. This is my recent work. This is my work with IAEA since 2017, and it came out recently. This is actually this is Quantum 3, the third volume of nuclear medicine audits. Quantum 1 was started by our Balik scientist, Thomas Pascual. So somehow I got involved, and we developed a tool for them to scale the audits of nuclear medicine programs all over the world. So the tool is ready. It needs to be field tested, and I think this is something that can do a lot of good for. And Thomas and I have started talking about it again because he's a radiologist, and he does work on cancer imaging, including brain tumor imaging, and I'll show you some of our work on that. So we've started talking about collaborating and doing machine learning work on imaging in the Philippines. No? So I'll show you some of that in a bit. Oops, one moment. Okay. So, but let me highlight first the REDCap Users Consortium that began as a Balik Scientist project back in 2018. No? So this was a collaboration between VetMed in UPLB and Biochem in UP Manila. And of course, when I became a Balik scientist for San Agustin, then we added the Center for Informatics. This has prospered so much over the last couple of years. And a lot of our projects now, a lot of the clinical data on some of the trials for COVID, such as CoClarity, Solidarity, Tocilizumab, VCO, biomarkers, and even Abacov are actually housed in our REDCap instance. And a lot of these were facilitated by Dr. Frestel Climacosa, whom you've seen. She seems to have a lot of projects with PCHRD now, which is great. So I'm so happy because when I first interacted with her, she was an MD PhD student. I believe Ruby is also here, Ruby Ann King, who now works at the lung centers. They were MD PhD students of Dr. Badong Kawili. And when I was a Balik scientist, I interacted a lot with them. And now, they are scientists in their own right. And, we still collaborate with them, and they have prospered so much. Including promoting this, our REDCap Users Consortium. So in San Agustin, we also use REDCap for the COVID patient registry that we are developing, CVD diabetes patient registry in Western Visayas. I believe we collaborate with Dr. Vicky Guanzon of Corazon Locsin, who is here. Hi, Vicky. This is also being prepared. The CVD diabetes patient registry is actually being helmed by another Balik scientist, Dr. Gerard Dumangcas, who is done with his short-term stint, but he continues to collaborate with us as a visiting scientist. So we're preparing his return to the Philippines to do more work on some of these informatics for health projects that we are doing at the Center for Informatics. We have NOMIR, which is Negros Occidental Mental Health Information Resources, which we do in Bacolod with Dr. Charibel Escandelor. And also PCN, which is the Poison Control Network project of Dr. Cherry King, also in Bacolod. So we do a lot of work in Western Visayas, of course, because that's where San Agustin is, but we also have national projects such as the COVID-19 patient registry. Again, what I did in San Agustin for my Balik scientist stint, which actually ended in 2020, but technically it never really ends. Once a Balik scientist, you're always a Balik scientist. So we established the University of San Agustin under these abiding principles, which are the highest principles of data stewardship. So these principles are fairness, benefit, openness, reliability. And we also promote data teamwork, and the teamwork principles are embodied in inclusion, experimentation, accountability, and impact. So all of our workers, originally we had just a software developer with us, and the OST, SEI, CIP, the Career Incentives Program, provided 2 researchers to us. One, Dr. Pia Zamora is an MD PhD graduate, also classmate of Dr. Frestel and Dr. Ruby. Is now essentially like a highly trained health informatician. And she is, at the helm of our NOMIR project in Negros Occidental and our COVID-19 patient registry project. So I'm really happy that, we have, at least, through my participation in the Balik Scientist program, I have seen, some of our local researchers prosper, in their endeavors. So that is really, really heartening. And we hope, of course, that, when our Filipinos abroad decide to come back home to the Philippines, that, we can also provide opportunities for them, including in some of the projects that we are developing. So all of our workers, abide by these principles, and I think they are pretty good principles in terms of data stewardship. Mainly, we got caught up in the COVID pandemic in the Center for Informatics. We had a number of projects that we were doing, but as soon as the pandemic occurred, we pretty much shifted gear and, collaborated with a lot of, scientists, local scientists from UP Diliman, from NCMH, from Makati Medical Center, from UP Manila, and developed this COVID-19 toolkit. And in the toolkit, there are tools basically that can be used, to combat COVID-19. And we have a number of data visualizations. This is that we put in our website for everybody to see, and we have national data that we're visualizing. The students at the CFI are actually doing this, and you can see here, we're following the positivity rate, of COVID infections in the Philippines. We have this on a national scale, but we're also preparing it for the regional scale. We did a lot for COVID. Maybe Dr. Montoya can attest to that. But at the same time, I can't highlight all of them. I'll highlight just a few of the things that we did. So this is the most recent thing that we've been doing. This is COVID-19 genomic surveillance. So we get our data out of the GISAID consortium, where genomic data for COVID variants is being uploaded by all countries in the world. And so we have our Philippine data there. And so we can track, our variants, where they exist in the Philippines. For example, our Alpha variant, is basically all over the National Capital Region. This is all data though. So this is data as of May 2020. That's the latest. That was, the latest that we got an upload from, the Philippine, authorities that are sequencing, doing sequencing on COVID samples. So, this is as of May 20, and you can see here, there's a very small occurrence of the Delta variant. So, and this is because this was last May. We know, of course, that, the Delta variant eventually took off in the Philippines. So unfortunately, we don't have the data because they have not been uploaded to GISAID. However, we can compare how we are doing we're doing it for the entire ASEAN region, so we can have an idea what's going on in our region of the world. So we look at Indonesia, and some of the students are doing the other countries. If we look at Indonesia, you can see that, the Delta variant is all over the place. And the reason, this is because the last upload that they sent to GISAID is as of September 2020. So this is very recent data. And our data, of course, is not so good because the last upload was May 2020. So I'm encouraging, I would encourage some of the the facilities that sequence COVID-19 viral genomes to keep uploading those data so that we can have a better picture of our how the variants are distributed in our country. And of course, the reason we do this is because when you start planning to maybe distribute some of the vaccines that may or may not be effective against some of the variants, then you would know where to put them depending on the variant that occurs in the region. So these are visualizations that we are doing for our country. Hopefully, some of the policymakers would have an idea, would be able to get a hold of some of our visualizations so they could make very good decisions on where to deploy our resources for fighting COVID-19. And this is Indonesia. At the very beginning of the pandemic, we had very few, as Dr. Jonel mentioned, there was very little testing. So, we made all sorts of recommendations on COVID testing, including antibody testing, PCR testing, and, sample pooling in order to save on test kits because test kits were rate limiting at that time. We forwarded all of our recommendations to the DOH, DOST, IATF, and some of the region, city, the city, the mayors and all of that. So we did all of that. We also analyzed data regarding relaxing the lockdown, and our analysis was published as an editorial in Rappler. We developed a PPE needs dashboard. This one actually was a finalist in the Helia Castillo social innovation competition. And the PPE needs dashboard that we developed basically was for under-resourced facilities to broadcast their PPE needs. And when they did that, their PPE needs were actually, they got responses from private donors as well as the Office of the Vice President. So that was good. So we still have the PPE needs dashboard, but I do believe that a lot of the PPE needs are now coordinated by the Office of Civil Defense. So in other words, we were supplementing, the efforts back then because some of the smaller facilities that were under-resourced were not getting their needs in terms of PPEs. We also developed a contact tracing tool, which was used by our collaborator, the NCMH, National Center for Mental Health, to help, in curbing their cases, because at the very beginning of the pandemic, there was a really high number of cases at NCMH. And when they started using the contact tracing tool that we developed, which had a self-reporting function, they figured out very easily who they needed to test because people were self-reporting their contacts with COVID-19 positive patients. An EMR is actually a personal project of mine. When I came back to the Philippines, I started developing it, to be able to provide electronic medical record, an electronic medical record app, a free one, to doctors who want to use them. So it is, it's been going on for the last 5 years, but more recently, we've started developing telehealth functionalities. And we do this out of the Center for Informatics. So we now administer an EMR to the Center for Informatics. And we're almost ready to launch an EMR telehealth. So, and we have some communities that will be enjoying the use of telehealth, for their health needs, particularly during this pandemic. We have a small AI, artificial intelligence, and ML, machine learning group, where we tackle AI health for cancer, such as melanoma, brain cancer, and lung cancer. And we use omics data as well as imaging data to do those classifications. And this is a framework that we developed using clinical data, both from an EMR and our patient registries. So this is the framework where AI has to be transparent and explainable and requires constant monitoring as well as remodeling and deployment of the new models if there are triggers, such as if there are additional data. So we have the normal framework where there's no AI, and then an AI engine which is fed by data that we collect from our patient registries, and used for modeling and remodeling and training and validation. So that AI engine will then run once once there are patients that would like or clinicians that order their diagnostics and want an evaluation, an AI evaluation apart from the normal evaluation that they do. This is one of our projects in brain tumor imaging AI. We are looking at CT scans. One of the students, Jonathan Rico, is in charge of this project, where what we want to do is to classify brain tumor images and predict the presence of MGMT, promoter methylation, because that has an implication on treatment modalities. So this is an ongoing project. And, again, for the neuroscientists out there who may be interested in cancer as well, and imaging and computational biology, this is something that we are doing. And Thomas Pascual, who is a radiologist and also a clinician, he and I have been talking about are initiating our project on, on medical imaging and AI. So Thomas, looking forward to our next discussion. This is our COVID-19 patient registry, which we are working on. There's a collaboration among 5 hospitals at least, and several more that we are recruiting. We're developing a COVID-19 patient registry so that we can use the data, the aggregated data. This is the security measures, 4 layers of security. So the data is very secure. That data, aggregated data, will be used in various research topics, including the clinical course and disease severity of COVID among Filipino patients, risk factors, comorbidities, etc., etc. And you can see here, neurology is part of our, of the things that we want to study in COVID patients, as well as psychiatry and, complications. So again, herbal medicine, this is particularly relevant to some of the Tuklas Lunas programs of the PCHRD. We'd like to see, if there have been herbal medicine use among COVID patients and what the outcome was when they used herbal medicine. NOMIR is the Negros Occidental Mental Health Information Resources. Essentially, it's a patient registry that will be used by our collaborator, the Negros Occidental Rehab Foundation Incorporated, to do resources planning on their data, because there's always a shortage of medicine. We found out that there's always a shortage of psychiatry medicine in their facility, and their medicines come from the DOH as well as their local government. But there are times that they're not able to provide. So by having a registry and data on on patient use of the medicines, they will be able to plan their resources better, maybe to have a better supply of psychiatry medicines or psychoactive medicines that are given for free to the patients. And their data will be in a dashboard. Of course, no identifying data, because that's going to be a no-no under the Data Privacy Act. But this is a regional mental health information resource, particularly in the province of Negros Occidental, which we will prepare this patient registry to be aggregated, not aggregated, but rather integrated with the national mental health information system through what you call the fast healthcare information resources and interoperability. The National Mental Health Information System is a project of the National Center for Mental Health, which Pia and I are actually helping them with. I see it as part of my Balik Scientist work, to help NCMH in their information system, because it is a mandate of the mental health law. So they need to develop a national mental health information system where all the data from various primary, secondary, and tertiary level facilities should be incorporated or aggregated and made interoperable, so that we can present the state of mental health in the Philippines much easier, when it is needed. Okay, so last two things that we are working on. This is one of our projects in environmental, one of our environmental projects. It's the Marine Protected Area Fish Monitoring app. So we developed an app, to help capture fish census data, which is essential in marine protected area monitoring. And what it is an app that is not necessarily made for scientists, although scientists can use it. It is actually made for the ordinary community member who is tasked to monitor the MPA in their community. So this is done, and we are going to launch it on September 28th, a few days from now. This was in collaboration with Silliman University and the Australian government. And you can watch the live streaming if you're interested in the marine sciences. They have really beautiful images through our Facebook page, Center for Informatics. So again, September 28th, 9 a.m. All right. So last but not the least, before the pandemic, we actually, when I was Balik Scientist, officially Balik Scientist, sometime around 2019, we initiated a project on this lovely creature here. It's a neuroscience project because we are studying the neuroactive toxin components of the stonefish. And this is inspired by some of the work that I did as an undergrad with national scientist Dr. Lourdes Cruz. I was working on some of those toxins that they were working on in the lab. And now, I guess maybe some of that inspiration is spilling over. And we have a lot of marine resources. In fact, Dr. Dalisay uses a lot of our marine resources in her research. And, of course, with collaborators, from Mainz, Germany, as well as a local environmental group, we were able to initiate this project. However, during the pandemic, things died down, but we still have our samples. Actually, we collected samples, and this is our expedition where that's me. There's the CFI staff, Jonathan, Pia, and Nello, our collaborator from Germany, Dr. Musman, who came and gave lectures all over the Philippines back in early 2020 before the pandemic, and our collaborators from Reef Wanderers. So we have a lot of projects at the Center for Informatics. I guess that's the short of it. And if our neuroscientists are interested, we can definitely host you for your Balik Scientist stint. So many thanks. And if you're interested, you can email me at this email address. So that's my initial R, castro@usa.edu.ph. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for letting me give a spiel on the Center for Informatics. Thank you.
Sadyang hindi natatapos ang serbisyo para sa bansa. Thank you for sharing your works and experiences with us, Dr. De Castro. Thank you, Dr. Saludes and Dr. De Castro, for sharing with us your Balik Scientist journey. We hope their talks have ardently urge you to take part in the program. As we prepare for the open forum, we will have a very short break. We are sending also in our chat box the links of Spine, GradMap, and the Balik Scientist program for you to visit and follow. Please stand by as we present to you the Balik Scientist program achievements in 2020. We are now ready to entertain questions. As we have relayed earlier in the program, for your questions, please indicate your name, affiliation, country of residence, and to whom your question is addressed. Our organizers will forward your questions, which will be read and relayed to our panel. At this point, we would like to request our speakers to turn on their videos and to join us in this open forum. Let us welcome our facilitator, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development Executive Director, Dr. Jaime C. Montoya.
Yes, thank you very much, Idona. And again, good morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Wow, this is a truly a powerhouse presentation, really energizing. And these are the kind of conferences we really look forward to because everyone is so fired up, so inspiring, especially for our young scientists and researchers. And what more can we ask? All of the big names among the Balik scientists are actually here. And hopefully we can inspire more people to actually join the Balik Scientist program and of course to expand the pool of researchers in the country. I can go on and on. I'm truly so excited, but let me go to my task immediately because we don't have the luxury of time. I'd like to introduce our very distinguished panel. You've already seen a number of them, but they will be more actively involved in the open forum. Of course, you've heard Dr. Jonel Saludes, Dr. Jong De Castro will be in the panel. as well as from my colleagues in the PCHRD, we have Paul De Leon and Annie Catameo. We also have our scientists from the spine group and the MAP grad group, Dr. Charles Jordan Reyes and Dr. Jansen Cota. And of course, we have one of our prime movers in the Balik Scientist program, no less than our Undersecretary, Dr. Rowena Cristina Guevara. So we have a powerhouse panel, as I said, and we'll go immediately to the open forum. Please put your questions on the chat. I'll try to manage the time and hope that we can answer all of your questions because I'm sure there are a lot of them. And in fact, even prior to the conference, we already had 5 questions. So talagang first come, first serve. And let me just go through them one by one. Our first question is actually directed to Dr. You can answer both Dr. Noel Viana and Dr. Charles Reyes. The question is, what does it take to be a neuroscientist abroad, meaning to be trained abroad? What are the tips that you can actually share to our young researchers in the audience? Because I think they also want to follow your example. So can we hear some tips from you, Dr. Charles or Dr. Noel?
So my first step is to be very particular with what you want. So plan your applications really well, be committed to executing your plan, and most importantly, do find mentors who can teach you how to apply for graduate schools and scholarships abroad. So there are a lot of people who have gone through that journey of applying for scholarships abroad, and you can reach out to us through Spine or through GradMap. No? How about you, Noel? Do you have additional ideas on how to mentor our young neuroscientists?
I think it's really promising now. There are definitely a lot of opportunities which are, driven by young Filipinos such as GradMap, and I think everyone who is actually interested in doing neuroscience should consult or should link themselves to the initiatives because this is really like a free initiative, and people are very driven. And I think I'm really grateful for Spine and GradMap for providing these opportunities.
Yeah, thank you very much for your brief responses. And I suppose if you can share your email addresses at the chat box for everyone to see, maybe they can get in touch with you. Is that all right? Okay. The next question is actually for Paul De Leon. What are the opportunities for neuroscience research in the Philippines? And I suppose you can already connect this to how can PCHRD and DOST help for people to discover these opportunities?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Montoya, for that question. Actually, whenever I'm talking to, prospective project leaders or collaborators, as long as they have their novel idea, I think that's strong enough reason for us to collaborate. And we have a number of opportunities with DOST and PCHRD. With regards to the actual R&D, there are a number of areas that they can be involved with in the overall life cycle of R&D management. So they can participate in our R&D clinics in actually developing some prospective proposals for submissions. They can also part of our expert panel in our agenda setting and prioritization of research areas. They can also be involved as an actual project leader or consultant or also collaborator for our call for proposals, and as technical evaluators also whenever we are reviewing proposals. And they can also be as our expert matter consultants also in developing special programs, specifically, for example, for neuroscience. At the same time, I think DOST and PCHRD are very creative in crafting and creating new programs that will set as an avenue for promoting participation for our scientists, especially for this new area in neuroscience. So there are a number of collaborations that we can work with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Before I go to the remaining questions, I see a hand raised here, and not because I'm I'm giving favors, but I think I'd like to ask Dr. Tom Pascual is a Balik scientist, also nuclear medicine, pioneer and leader. Yes, Tom, please.
Yes, good morning po, Dr. Jaime Montoya. Good morning, Dr. Cristina Guevara, and all the participants, especially to the one started this fine. So very congratulations on this initiative. And I must say, as a Balik scientist, definitely there should be open for collaboration on areas of neuroscience. And as I was, Dr. Montoya, I was speaking with Dr. De Castro, even last night, about how we can actually expand the application of nuclear medicine in neuroscience. And definitely, as we have actually started the nuclear medicine research agenda, there is an area there that we can expand, such as functional imaging and derivation of normal data sets for brain images for the Filipinos that can actually lead the way for other researches, such as tau imaging for dementia, kasi wala pang data set ang normal Filipinos for that purpose. And then going on with Jong's project of AI, we could actually do something to get into that data set, and it's actually in our nuclear medicine research agenda, and we can expand this collaboration para, through research, and eventually once and for all, we have that important data set that will be used to define occurrences of dementia in Filipinos, together with nuclear medicine imaging, and of course with the expertise of fellow Balik scientists. So it's indeed very engaging, and then knowing how the different organizations, stakeholders can actually put forward a very good agenda within for improved Filipino health, and of course for improved mental health. So yun lang po yung masasabi ko. So definitely it's a good beginning, different areas of cooperation, and then definitely we could start doing that. And I think we will be in touch with the proponents, and then eventually come up with something. So yun po, reaction po, congratulations po.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Wow. Dr. Jong De Castro, the likes of you and Dr. Saludes and Dr. Vianya, Dr. Jordan Reyes, I think meron ba kayo mga clone? I think we'd like you to replicate and be distributed in different parts of the country. These are the people we really need to actually, inspire, inculcate passion for research among our young people. And we really need people like you. But anyway, let me now ask a question to Annie. And this is really more a question of the application process. Because there are a lot of, even in the chat, they posted, how can they find a partner? For example, a Balik scientist can find a partner, host institution. And how can an institution also host a scientist? How can they do it? It's like, how can they start and how can they find the proper match? Can you tell us how, Annie, briefly?
Hello, good morning, and thank you for the question. For the first question on how can the applicants find the most suitable host institution, I think this is already part of my presentation, but to reiterate, usually prospective Balik scientists look for host institutions with known research capabilities aligned with their expertise. And as I've mentioned a while ago, host institutions may be a government agency, public or private academic institution, or a locally registered enterprise undertaking science, technology, and innovation activities and research and development initiatives. Usually, our awardees opt to give back to their alma mater or institutions in their hometowns, provinces, to help build the capacity of the region. And other ways where applicants can learn more about the PCHRD's active R&D network is through being involved in PCHRD activities, as well as learning more about who we are in collaboration with. With that, I encourage the possible BSP applicants to visit our website and see more of our previous and current engagement related to the program. For the next question, I think, sir, yes, the OST PCHRD can help potential applicants in finding their host institutions. In fact, we can also harness our network with our regional health research and development consortia, where we establish in the 17 regions of the country in looking for potential institutions in the regions where Balik scientists applicants may collaborate or may be involved with. Actually, this is currently being done by the program where we have Balik scientists host institution matching, sir. As I presented a while ago, you can, Balik BSP applicants can just email the Secretariat to make us aware of their interest in the program and how we can assist them to avail of the program. Thank you, sir, and I hope I was able to answer the question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Annie. My next question is for Undersecretary Guevara. I think the question here is really, where will the program go in the future, the BSP? You know, aside from questions about whether you can start with a short term and then go to a long term, what are you think will be the direction of the BSP for the future so that it will entice more of our scientists based abroad to come and help the Philippines?
Thank you very much, Dr. Jimmy, for that question. One of the things that we notice in the Balik Scientist program is that most of those potential Balik scientists do not know where they will go or what they will do in the Philippines. And our host institutions, they also do not know where they will find a Balik scientist for a particular scientific endeavor. So may matching problem tayo. And then we had this pandemic, and the DOST proposed the Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines to be established by law. What wonderful things happened to us after announcing that we intend to put up the VIP, because I received many emails from Filipinos abroad who are interested to become Balik scientists for the Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines. And we said to ourselves, ganun pala, they need to know what programs there are in the country, such that they would know where they will be placed when they become a Balik scientist. And good enough, our first batch of Balik scientists for the VIP, we have 8 Balik scientists. Lahat sila pupunta dun sa VIP. And so one of the things that we're doing now is promoting our programs and projects so that the Balik scientists or potential Balik scientists will know where they could possibly go in the scientific and technological ecosystem of the country. Now, in terms of the long term, while I was listening to Dr. Jonel, Dr. De Castro, and Dr. Reyes, I was thinking to myself, wow, these are the people whom I should ask for our long-term R&D programs. You know, in the Philippines, because our political climate changes every 6 years, it's very difficult to put up a long-term R&D program. However, if you don't have long-term R&D programs, our projects are not going to be very deep, and then they're not going to be solving relevant problems of the future. One of the longest projects that we have at the DOST is under PCHRD. It's a 15-year-old project. It's now on its 6th year, I think. Has something to do with cardiovascular studies. But I was thinking more along the lines of what advanced technologies should we be looking at such that in the future we will be pandemic proof, or we'll be able to develop our own vaccines and all these problems that we have today that need long-term solutions. So I would like to see our future Balik scientists working with DOST in crafting long-term R&D programs that would be able to shape the country's socioeconomic development. I know it's a tall order, but listening to you guys, I think you're up for it. So thank you in advance.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yusek Geb. Wow. You know, nakita nyo, hindi short-sighted ang DOST. I mean, really, for the long haul. And not only that, we have actually already started some of this, such as the VIP. No? Talagang kailangan mag-recruit. Parang recruiter tayo ng mga the best minds in all over the world to come to the Philippines and help the Philippines strengthen our SNT base.
Dr. Jimmy, may I add?
Yes, sige.
Oo, meron kaming bagong programa. Ang tawag ay Science and Technology Fellows. We realized that in the government, we don't have enough permanent positions for MS and PhD graduates with experience. Kasi mababa yung entry point salary grade 17, 18, yung mga SRS1 at SRS2. So nag-imbento kami ng bagong term, SNT Fellows. We have an opening for 68 SNT Fellows. Ang salary grade po ng SNT Fellow ay salary grade 23 hanggang 27. So SNT Fellow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Para lang sa kaalaman ng mga tao, yung salary grade 27, sweldo po yan ng Executive Director ng DOST. So we're willing to pay that much for scientists who will qualify as SNT Fellows. So we'll start with 68 this year, and maybe next year we'll go over 100. And hopefully, by doing a 5-year contract for these SNT Fellows, we will be able to attract balik scientists to become stay scientists and balik-balik scientists. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yusegeb. You know, that's really like syringe, you know, you inject this fluid and it excites people, you know, and I think this is really one of them. And I think we just have to keep tuned, stay tuned to the announcements, because definitely it will be a wonderful opportunity, especially for our young researchers, our budding researchers, and our experienced researchers to really get good positions, to have a sort of a security, no? Na hindi nila po problemahin yung saan ako kayong kukuha ng grant, ano yung paano ako kukita. I mean, syempre we need to have some baseline subsistence. And this is, I think, the way to go. So thank you very much, Yusegeb. I'd like to ask Dr. Junel, you know, the centers we've established is really phenomenal. It's like, you know, how can it happen overnight? But my question really is, especially for the people now who are attuned, watching us here, can they get research fellowships? Can they actually, you know, ask for your help, whether as a mentor or maybe work as a research fellow in your institution? How can they do it? Just very briefly, Dr. Junel.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. Building those research centers were not overnight. It became possible not because of myself, but the parties involved. First is the university administration, and second, the sponsors, and that's the DOST. Without those, kahit siguro anong gawin ko, nothing will happen.
So you were in the right place at the right time.
The stars have the time, ano?
Okay.
But how do we do the mentoring now? And we are approaching it in different ways. The research assistants that we hire were not just because we need them for the personnel in the lab. The process is they are hired as research assistants to be mentored for their career growth. One of our requirements is if they are staying longer in the lab, when they renew their project contract, they have to go to grad school. They have to grow. And in fact, we've already sent some of our graduates in the lab for their PhD abroad through the SEI International Scholarship Program. Secondly, SEI is also very generous for assigning career incentive program scholars to San Agustin. Its CIP is like a postdoctoral or a post-MS fellowship. It's their polishing stage after earning their degree as scholars ng PCHRD and SEI. And two of the names mentioned by Dr. De Castro, Dr. Pia Zamora, and Mr. Jonathan Rico are CIP scholars assigned at CFI. Collaboration and mentoring is key. That's part that the lifeblood of the operations of the research centers, as was shown by Dr. De Castro. The collaborations help strengthen CFI's program. I may not have shown in my presentation, but industry-academic partnership is a strong direction of CNV3 and C2B2. As we work with Del Monte, Philippines for the Pineapple Cardiovascular Research Program. We work with a local pharmaceutical company here in Iloilo, Maridan Industries, to develop honey as an skin antibiotic, as well as Kajos, a skin antibiotic. We work with Herbanex Laboratories to develop tawa-tawa to treat thrombocytopenia and develop turmeric as a standardized product, not using the traditional curcuminoids, but using soluble proteins as markers for anti-inflammatory properties of turmeric. These products are envisioned to be out in a year or two. So that's how we do our partnership and human resource mentoring dito, Dr. Montoya.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jonel. And Dr. Jong, if I may ask, is there anything more that you cannot do? I mean, you've been through, you know, from end to end. Very impressive. But anyway, joking aside, there may be a lot of people here in the audience, and I've read some of the chats, that they're very, you know, inspired by your passion for research. And I suppose they would like also to get in touch with you, maybe to be mentored by you, to get some advice from you. Ikaw ba ay meron kang Facebook o Twitter o Instagram that they can actually, you know, sometimes especially the young people, ayaw nila ng formal interaction kaagad. Medyo informal muna. So maybe you can advise our young people watching and listening now.
Maraming salamat po, Dr. Montoya. Thank you so much. I mean, of course, none of these things that I've done is possible without the Balik Scientist program, no? And the University of San Agustin that supported, you know, the things that we are doing now, and you know, the students that we are training now. So we do welcome additional students to come in. I mean, sometimes I'm a bit I'm proud na Dr. Pia Zamora, who is our MD PhD trainee, is probably one of two of the first postdocs that have been trained in the Philippines, I think. Maybe the other one is Dr. Ruby Ann King, who's done some work as a postdoc after her MD PhD. So we also welcome mga post-MS students, post-BS, I guess, post-bachelors, and more recently, even mga college undergrads. You know, we set up a summer internship program where they learn data science, well, actually health data science. And we asked them to do health mapping all over the Philippines, where they could see the disparities in our system. And, you know, some of them were even political science students who were, you know, amazed that, oh my goodness, pwede palang data-driven yung ating mga policies, no? So maybe we can start them very young. Yeah, so I'll put up my email, and I'll put up my email in the chat, and you know, anybody can reach out. You know, students abroad, Filipinos abroad, please reach out if you're interested in coming back to the Philippines. Jonel and I and the other Balik scientists will help you navigate, you know, the Philippine system. Now, you don't necessarily need to, you know, do your Balik scientists with us at San Agustin. We'd like you to, but you know, we can pass you on to our other Balik scientist colleagues, like Anne is here, Thomas is here, and you know, and the others. Meron din ako, Dr. Montoya, you know, I was traveling recently and I was in Canada, and I connected with an old colleague who was a postdoc friend of mine. So we were postdocs in the same. He is now the director of a translational research institute in Canada, in Montreal. And we were talking about student exchanges. So sabi niya sa akin, he welcomes student exchanges and collaborations. Yun lang, of course, limited ang funding. So sabi ko, well, maybe if our students can provide funding through our own programs in the Philippines, maybe we can send them to you. So there's two ways. So one would be Filipino scientists abroad, Filipino scientists trained abroad can come to us come back to the Philippines to the Balik Scientist program and various programs of the DOST. And our students in the Philippines who did their PhD and masters in the Philippines, we can send them to these collaborators of ours abroad. I have at least 2 institutions abroad that I can send students to if only they had their own funding. So ready yung mga places, it's a matter of funding. And I hope I believe there are programs in PCHRD and DOST that do that. So we will explore those more for the students that we train that would like to go abroad. And we can prepare them to go abroad through our own programs here in the Philippines. And then yung mga babalik naman ng Pilipinas, we can absorb them through our research programs supported by DOST and PCHRD. So maraming salamat sa inyong suporta. A little goes a long way. So I mean, we don't have the most funds in the Philippines, but somehow look at Dr. Jonel. I mean, with very little, he was able to establish 4 research centers. So in that way, Dr. Jonel is, my host and my mentor in all of these infrastructure and capacity building in the Philippines. So thank you, Jonel. Thank you po, Dr. Montoya, and Dr. Guevara for your support.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just like to have, we're running out of time, but I just have to forward the question raised by one of our media friends, Dr. Annabelle Surara. She's asking about the mention about the uncomplicated EMR. And it's already being used for COVID during this COVID pandemic. John.
Yeah, it's online, sir. Meron pong sign up dun sa website mismo. It's unemr.net. So if you sign up, you can use it. And we are improving it. We haven't launched the telehealth portion yet, but we will in maybe a couple of months, 1 to 3 months.
Okay, baka pwede mo kami isama dyan sa launch.
Of course,
para sumikat kami kasabay ninyo. Mga
no problem. Yeah, no problem, Dr. Montoya. Kasi after all, this was again a personal project of mine. While I was a Balik scientist, while I was not a Balik scientist.
Yeah, I remember we discussed that when you were just a new Balik scientist. Yeah, very interesting.
Absolutely. Oo nga po. So now with telehealth, hopefully because of the COVID pandemic, and it's free anyway. So, it would be hopefully a use for our doctors to reach out to, to their patients through telehealth.
Yeah. Thank you. So, there are a lot of questions here. Meron pa mga remarks, comments, praises and everything. Wow, talaga nakakataba ng puso. But all I can say is that we can keep the discussions going, maybe through Viber, because I think 1 hour or even 30 minutes more is not enough to actually answer all of the questions. But I think we've started the interest for research, particularly for neurosciences. And with all of you here, I'm sure we'll go a long way. So I'm supposed to wrap up this very short. I think it's very short considering the questions and the remarks that are being seen, that I have been seeing in the chat box and in the Q&A. We've seen the remarkable achievements of our Balik Scientist program, exemplified by our 2 Balik scientists, Dr. Jonel Saludes and Dr. Romulo De Castro. We've also heard the how neuroscience research has started and how it continues to inspire people through the SPINE and the GradMap group led by Dr. Charles Jordan Reyes, Dr. John Noel Viana, and Dr. Jansen Cota. And we've also seen what the DOST is doing, the PCHRD through the Balik Scientist program, how you can avail of the possibilities and opportunities offered by the program, both as a Balik Scientist and as a host institution, which you can readily access through our website and through our contact points, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So this was truly a very engaging discussion. we spanned so much. You know, para tayong end-to-end ga, sabi ko kanina. We did not just focus on neuroscience. We basically touched on different fields, but using neuroscience as our like a jumping board. And I really like to thank our distinguished panelists for their active participation, for answering the questions. Please continue the good work. I'm sure that with people like you, the Philippines will really go a long way. At tataas pa tayo sa ating Global Innovation Index. Diba, Yusek Geb?
Yes.
Maybe baka very briefly lang, pakisabi lang sa ating mga nakikinig yung good news sa GII natin.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jimmy. Nung Monday, lumabas yung Global Innovation Index 2021. Last year kasi, number 50 tayo out of 131 countries. This year, number 51 tayo out of 132 countries. Pero wag po tayong malungkot na bumaba tayo ng one rank. Kasi po ang nangyari, dun sa innovation inputs, bumaba tayo from number 70 last year to number 72 this year. Pero dun sa innovation outputs, umakyat tayo from number 41 last year to number 40 this year. Ibig lang pong sabihin ay talaga pong efficient innovators ang mga Pilipino. Kahit konti ang input, madami po ang output. Ang tawag po natin dyan ay Philippinovation.
Yeah. And I think, Yusek Geb, we are one of the 5 most improved countries, hindi ba? I mean, according to the...
Hindi lang yon. Ang sinabi dun sa Global Innovation Index, the Philippines is one of the 5 countries that will change the innovation landscape of the world.
See? So talagang we have set the trend. We have set the pace. We just have to maintain the momentum. Yeah. And as I said again, with our guidance and support from the DOST, and people like you provide the brain power and the inspiration to keep people moving in the research field, I think nothing is impossible. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for this very interesting panel discussion. And now I will turn the floor to Idonna for the next part of this very short program. Thank you.
Salamat po ng madami, Dr. Montoya. Salamat po sa ating speakers. And thank you, Dr. Montoya, again for wrapping up the open forum. Before officially ending today's program, I would like to call on Dr. Rowena Cristina L. Guevara, DOST Undersecretary for Research and Development, for her closing message. Yusek?
Secretary Boy, Director Jimmy, Dr. Saludes, Dr. De Castro, Mr. Paul, and Miss Annie. Of course, Dr. Charles Reyes and Dr. Biania. And of course, our Balik scientists in the room and our friends from all over the world. Magandang umaga, magandang hapon, magandang gabi, at magandang agham po sa ating lahat. I would like to express my appreciation to the Society for Pinoy Neuroscience Enthusiasts, or SPINE, and the Graduate Mentorship and Assistance Program, or GradMap Philippines, for engaging the Balik Scientist Program. I'd also like to thank the Council Executive Director Montoya, our Balik scientists, Dr. Janelle Saludes and Dr. Romulo De Castro, and our speaker from DOST-PCHRD, Mr. Paul Ernest De Leon, and Miss Annie, for their valuable contribution to this webinar. Hearing and learning from speakers and our audience has told us how the country is moving forward in coping with the developments in neurosciences. Our research partners continue to contribute to the advancement in neurosciences with relevant studies on HIV-related neurocognitive complications, omics for Alzheimer's disease, neurological COVID-19 consequences, neurodegenerative diseases and complications, and even rare neurological diseases following the Republic Act 10747, or the Rare Disease Law. We have projects on X-linked dystonia Parkinsonism, and soon we will have projects on sudden unexplained death syndrome, such as Bangungot and Brugada, to inform and educate clinicians on the management of the condition and also respond to the need for research on rare diseases of socioeconomic importance. Listening to Dr. Janelle Saludes today when he presented his laboratory together with Dr. Doralyn and other scientists in University of San Agustin, I am reminded of why we decided to invest so much in the University of San Agustin. The main reason is that there are mentors such as Dr. Saludes, Dr. Doralyn, Dr. Jong, who are going to create the ecosystem for our budding scientists. I also saw that the investments that we have made from the OST are being put to very good use. Thank you so much for being very good Balik scientists. To support the initiatives on neurosciences, the Department of Science and Technology Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, or DOST-PCHRD, provides grants for health research projects aligned with the National Unified Health Research Agenda, or NURA, and the Harmonized National R&D Agenda. These research studies include projects or programs on neurosciences which may be categorized or aligned under specific research priority areas of the Council, such as ICT for health, omics technology for health, biomedical engineering and health technologies, diagnostics, and mental health, depending on the scope of their objectives. To sum it up, the OST-PCHRD is continuously supporting the implementation of projects and programs on neurosciences. With everything that has been presented, I can say we are not left behind. And to complement these studies, this is where our Balik scientists, such as Dr. Saludes, Dr. De Castro, Dr. Annabelle, who is here, Dr. Neil, they're contributing through research and development. Today's activity highlighted the role of Balik scientists in the development of science, technology, and innovation in the country. We have witnessed a glimpse of their journey as Balik scientists, their experiences with their respective host institutions, and their commitment to the advancement of STI. We hope we were able to inspire you, and just like Dr. Saludes and Dr. De Castro, you would consider coming home and becoming a Balik scientist to be part of our country's STI ecosystem. We believe that in your hearts lie the innate sense of love of country, compelling you to share your ingenuity by giving back to the Filipino people. Maraming salamat, balik puso, balik Pilipinas, balik scientist, at magandang agham po sa ating lahat.
Thank you so much, Yusek Guevara. As we put an end to today's event, may we request all panelists and all our participants to kindly turn on your video cameras for our photo op. I would like to ask for support from our technical team to promote our participants so they can turn on their videos and so that you may also take the photo.
We also have with us Asek Leia Buendia.
Hi.
For
Asek
international.
Leia, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning,
We're very happy she is
everyone.
here with us. Hindi ko lang kasi napansin ka agad. Dapat kasama sa panel si Asek Leia. But anyway.
No problem.
Yeah, alam mo kaya dapat kasama si Asek Leia kasi yung mga international cooperation natin.
Yes.
Malalaman ninyo through her. Alam ko si Dr. Janelle, daming natutunan sa kanya tungkol sa partnerships with Chinese Taipei. So sana tuloy-tuloy yan. Thank you very much for being here, Asek Leia.
And we have, of course, Dr. Annabelle Briones from the ITBI.
Ayan, the Virology and Vaccine Institute of the
Yes.
Philippines project leader. Dr. Annabelle, good morning. Ay, bago ko makalimutan pala, gusto kong magpasalamat sa ating Balik Scientist Program workers. Andyan si Ma'am Laila, nandyan si Aidona, our host, andyan din si Jay, at saka nandyan si Miss Annie. Maraming salamat.
And Aisha, ma'am. Aisha.
Aisha, andyan din pala si Aisha.
Yes.
Hello, Aisha. Thank you.
Ako rin, recognize ko rin yung mga PCHRD Scholar Society members ay nandito rin. Si Belle.
Dr. Agapito, sir.
Oo, and
KD
yeah, they're
Agapito.
here. And of course, I'd like to also recognize si Emil Aligi, Pasta, Executive Director ng PCHRD is also here with us today.
Hello po.
Yes,
Hello.
Emil.
Sir, may mga RHRDC members din po tayo with us.
Yes, from RHRDC, sa Regional Health Research and Development Consortia. Sige, open our cams na.
Okay. Let us take our photo. First slide in 3, 2, 1, smile. Second slide in 3, 2, 1, smile. Third slide in 3, 2, 1, smile. Please bear with me. We have 6 slides. Fourth slide in 3, 2, 1, smile. Fifth in 3, 2, 1, smile. And the last in 3, 2, 1, smile. All right. I hope we were able to capture all the photos. Thank you, everyone. Please do not forget to answer our evaluation form that will be flashed on your screens. Only participants with accomplished and submitted evaluation forms will be given an electronic copy of the certificate. Also flashed in our screen is the consultation sign-up sheet. If you wish to schedule an online orientation with us, the Balik Scientist Program Secretariat, you may do so. We would also like to invite all of you to our upcoming event, the Balik Scientist Program 2021 Annual Convention, this coming November. This convention is a gathering of our Balik scientists. Get to know more of them and be inspired further. We hope to see you all and your colleagues and your friends there. Stay tuned and follow us on Facebook or visit our website for more information. Again, thank you very much to Spine, DOST, our Balik scientists, Dr. Saludes, Dr. De Castro, for making this activity happen. We hope that this event provided us the impetus to answer the call and prove that world-class Filipino scientists burn with passion and love in service to our country. Balik puso, balik Pilipinas, balik scientist. Again, this has been Idona Humawas. Magandang agham sa ating lahat. Thank you and have a safe weekend. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Donna.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all of our panelists. Nako, ang galing
The surge of
talaga.
the
Ang galing-galing.
COVID-19 pandemic
Thank you.
had put a threat to the advancement of science and technology in the country. However, the Balik Scientist Program, as administered by the Department of Science and Technology, continues to uphold its goal to create opportunities and to build stronger scientific communities without compromising the health and safety of our Balik scientists. Last September 1, 2021, the DOST-BSP enhanced its supplemental guidelines and risk management plan by amending the Special Order Number 0415, Series 2020, to Special Order Number 0225, Series of 2021. Its goal is to continue the program's endeavors and to ensure the Balik scientists' safety by providing alternative means of engagement and incentives for the awardees. The amended guideline provides more conducive work arrangements for short-term and medium-term Balik scientists. The short-term engagement of 15 days to 6 months now offers arrangement of either pure remote or a combination of remote and on-site for Balik scientists. Such arrangement is anchored on the proposed TOR or Terms of Reference of the Balik scientist. The Balik scientist with proposed COVID or non-COVID related activities can now afford to be engaged remotely. For this arrangement, new applicants and Balik scientists with ongoing engagements can apply. On the other hand, the medium-term engagement shall be conducted purely on-site. Only new applicants can apply in this work arrangement. The special order also provides provisions and incentives for the on-site and remote engagement. For the on-site engagement, the following will be given. Number 1, provision of 1 round-trip airfare originating from a foreign country to the Philippines. Number 2, exemption from payment of Philippine tax travel for the Balik scientists. 3. Reimbursement of expenses for excess baggage. 4. Tax-exempt daily subsistence allowance or DSA of $200 or based on the prevailing UNDP rate, whichever is higher. 5. Accident, travel, and health or medical insurances, including dental, COVID-19, and other emergent infections, are covered. 6. Provided that COVID-19 testing is not included in the health or medical insurances, the program shall cover the cost of testing as necessary. As per the remote engagement, a monthly incentive to at least salary grade 27 with the formula displayed on the screen will be provided. This supplemental guideline shall remain in force as long as there are travel restrictions and implementation of 14 days quarantine in the Philippines, and shall become ineffective upon written order by the DOST Secretary.
I hope everyone was able to access the evaluation link. Thank you once again. And this is the end of our webinar.
Thanks, Idona. Bye-bye.
Thank you po, Yusek. Bye po.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Idona. Thank you.
Thank you po, Dr. Montoya.